All right, welcome everybody. Can you hear me all right? I'll try to project the best I can, but thanks everybody for coming out tonight. My name is Corey. This is Tim. We're with Offer Now Idaho. We're going to spend the next 15-ish minutes just having a quick conversation around creative financing. Hopefully at the end of that, we can have a little Q&A, some networking, but really the point of this is to meet, mingle, and see who's doing creative financing, what can we learn together. So quick show of hands, who's heard of creative financing here? About everyone. Who's done a creative finance deal? Keep your hands up. How many people? Look around the room right now. This is your network. These are the people you can go get as resources, and so please come speak with us afterwards. Go to those folks. We want to make sure everybody knows about this and can structure a deal. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to Tim to talk about a couple of examples just to show you what's possible with creative financing.
So first off, I want to give a shout out to Daniel. Thank you for letting us use your facility and hosting us. Guys, let's support local businesses, buy some drinks, have a good time, all right? So a couple deals I want to start off with to share what we've done. The first property we did is in Ontario, pardon me. We set this up on seller finance terms. We purchased this at near market value. We came in with $16,000 down and did an escalating interest rate year over year, maxing out at 6%. What was cool about this deal is we set it up on $1,000 a month only principal and interest payments. Now you may ask, hey Tim, those numbers don't really add up. Those percentages don't make sense with that $1,000 a month, and you're absolutely right. What we did is we just rolled over the remainder onto the principal loan due in a 30-year balloon payment. We closed on this property ourselves. We're cash flowing about $600 a month on this property. Rented it out at $1,850. After all our expenses, our property management, cash flowing about $650 a month. The second one we did in Mountain Home. This one was a subject to deal. We bought it again at market value, $272,000. I want to sort of press interest rates here. Prime rates are what right now? 6.99, 7%, right? Corey, what's mortgage 7% on $272,000?
Probably like $1,800 or so.
$1,800, right? So this gentleman had a 2.75% interest rate on his current mortgage. That's a $1,231 a month PITI all-in payment. That gives us almost $600 of money we're saving on interest alone that we can use for cash flow. We gave him $15,000 down. Cool enough that he agreed to carry 10 of that if we went that route. And this has a $500 a month principal pay down amount. $500 of that $1,200 is principal pay down. That's unheard of. Corey, go ahead.
So we want to talk about what are the different types of seller finance. What have you guys heard of? What are the options available out there? Subject to. A wrap. Owner carry, hybrid. Those are most of them out there, and there's more names for them. We're going to focus on a couple here. The ones that are most common in our market are going to be your straight seller finance. That means there's no mortgage on the property, as well as a subject to. That means there's a mortgage on the property, you're taking over payments, and some kind of hybrid for that. So for these people, who are we looking for? Who's that seller? It is not your typical avatar of a person. So in a subject to transaction, it could be somebody who's a tired landlord. They really don't want to deal with tenants anymore. Who here has dealt with a fun tenant? Any good stories out there? Yeah. Anyone had a tenant die in their property? Yeah, that's not fun. So you're going to come up with some of these situations, and you have the opportunity to go to them and say, you know what, I can still give you a monthly payment. Just make you the bank instead, and I'm going to take over your interest rate. Or you might own it outright, and I can just take over that whole thing and make your headache go away and put a check in your mailbox every month. It also works really well with people who are downsizing. I met today with a couple. They've got a 2.99% interest loan for $520,000 on a $1 million property. Boy, isn't that attractive when you can go to 7% for that $1 million today. Sometimes people have no limited equity. So think of foreclosures. What happened in the last year? Where'd prices go compared to, June of 2022? In the tank. How much equity do those people have in their properties? Some don't have any. They'd have to write a check for you to close on their house. But instead, you might be able to go to them and just take over their payments, get them into a better situation, because you don't know what's happened in their life. They might have lost a job, and that leads us to our next one, which is any kind of other distress, emotional, financial pain. These are great people that you can go serve in another way by just taking over their property. Now, some of these are same with seller finance. I said these are somebody who has no mortgage at all. Now, one thing that we find here is that it opens you up to new things you typically can't get financing on. So think of mobile homes on land. Oh boy, in 1976 mobile home, can you get financing on that when it's not on a foundation? No, but there's people who want to live there who would be willing to sell or finance that to you, and you get the property underneath of it. You can give them a payment, and then you can turn around and resell that to an end buyer. A penalty box buyer who owns their own business, who owns a landscaping business, or somebody who has an income but doesn't have the credit score to qualify. Or, and these are some of our favorite, small multifamily. Who likes multifamily in here? Great cash flow potential. These people often have a ton of passion about their property. They may have worked on it themselves. They could have even house hacked it back 20 years ago. They might own this thing outright, and at the end of the day, they want their number because it means something to them, and you can come in and structure that deal on seller finance and really make it a win-win scenario. Tim's working on a 10 unit right now in that exact same space. And then the final one for this is going to be a land play. We've structured deals before where you have a 6-month to 1 year due diligence period where they get to take and roll their equity into a new development. Ooh, isn't that sexy? You just said, you know what, I get to take what you think is going to be your family's land and turn it into a bunch of townhomes or apartment complexes, and how much money do I have to bring out of pocket? Enough to get you into your new place. That's it. I don't have to pay you the $1.5 million up front. Those are all options of creative finance. And so now, Tim, how would you go about potentially pitching that to somebody?
Great question. I get this question a lot. People sort of understand what terms may be. They may understand it on a broad spectrum, but they don't know how to pitch it or how to set up the deal. So I want to give you guys, I want to give you something today, and I want to give you a glimpse into our organization, into our sales process. Now, before I go into this too deep, I want to challenge you to really think about how you want to run your business model. Because this is how we have done ours, and this is how we have found success in it. But everyone's business model is going to be a little bit differently, okay? What we teach our acquisition managers, what we work on ourselves, is we go by the 4 pillars of sales: price, timeline, motivation, and condition. We focus really hard on the motivation and the timeline of the sellers. So naturally, through the appointment, you're going to be there for about 45 minutes, and you're going to find out all these things, right? Then you're going to come to the negotiation part of the deal. What we do, and I can't stress this enough, is we exhaust cash first. We beat cash into the ground. Why do we do that? We third-party low anchor to get an unrealistic expectation for the seller and solicits a no from them. We want the sellers to tell us no. Why do we want them to tell us no? Because we want to let them know that we still have an option for them. You now all still have an option for them. What separates us from other people is the idea that we can do these terms deals. What separates you guys now? You guys now can do these terms deals, right? So these low anchors, these third-party low anchors of the cash option is what really solidifies the idea of how you and we are separated from the rest of the investor fields. Finally, when we move to the terms part of the negotiation, we really need to serve the sellers. We're here to provide a solution to people's situation, not just buy a house. So we need to find out what their needs and what their wants are. Is their most important thing the down payment? Are they purchasing something new, a car, an RV? Is the most important thing to them a monthly payment? Are they a tired landlord? As he said, we all have, some of us may have crazy tired landlord stories. I'd love to hear them. I have a couple good ones. Come to me afterwards. The final thing is the overall price. Do they have an emotional attachment to the property? Is this the property they raised their kids in? Did they do all the rehabs themselves? Once you find out these 3, the most important of these 3, then you can start structuring the deal that best fits their needs. Keep in mind, we're investors here, right? We still need to make a profit, so we have to have a take as well in those 3. So let me ask you a question. Why do you think terms wouldn't work? What objections have you heard when pitching a terms or talking about terms? All the cash now. Perfect. Perfect. The risk to the transaction. Perfect. All the money up front. 1031 exchange. So the main three that we see in our market, the main three objections we get from sellers is they're purchasing a new property, they're upsizing, they need all the money up front. They're paying off debt, and I'm talking large amounts of debts, not just $20,000, $30,000, hundreds of thousands of dollars that they need up front. Finally, they don't understand. They don't understand the concept, or they're scared because they've never heard of it before. So again, I'd like to give you guys a glimpse into our organization, and we're going to do a little role play here to sort of show you how we go through the process. Now, this is really rough, okay, so bear with us. I'm going to do a couple of predications that I've already been on the appointment with the seller for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I know the dog's name. I know where Lisa gets her haircut, where she does her nails, where they take the kids to dinner on Friday night. All right, I've done my due diligence. I know Zillow says 300. I know Zillow, whatever, but tax assessed also says about 300. So that's what I'm assuming that he sort of wants. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, perfect. So, Corey, you know, I talked to a couple of my friends, and it seems that other investors in the area are paying about 150 to 165.
Oh, God, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It sounds like you wouldn't say anything good to that.
No, I tell them to kick rocks.
I understand. I totally get it. You know, in a perfect world, you know, how close do you think you get to that number?
Well, my pay on realtor fees and commissions?
No realtor fees, no commissions, speed and convenience. I'm going to get you cash in 14 days and close out.
I mean, maybe I could do 270.
270. Pause. Right off the rip, right off the bat, what did I get him to do? I got him to come down from 300 to 270. I'm not even negotiations right now, right? And I got him to come down $30,000 right off the bat. So 270 is sort of the number you're looking for?
Yeah, I think that's like bare minimum what I need to get in my next home.
And I'm sorry, Corey, I've been so caught up in our conversation and learning about your kids. Remind me what you're using the funds for?
Well, you know, like we got the new kid on the way. Like we're going to need an extra bedroom, like maybe 2 in the future. Like I mean, that's what we need for our next house.
Okay, so you're looking for a bigger house.
Yeah. We really got to.
Immediate disqualification. Now there is another route we go called Novations. I'd love to talk to you about them. Come to me and I'll talk to them at a separate point in time. But this is the ultimate disqualification for both cash and terms. So let's take a step back, and I'm going to do my low price anchor again. I've already done that, and now he's at the 270. Corey, I got so caught up. Just remind me what you're using the funds for.
Yeah, I mean, Lisa and I we're gonna get an RV. We've been wanting to travel. You know, we just downsize. I'm so tired of yard work right now, and it's just my knee's been killing me. So yeah, we're excited
RV,
to get on travel.
like a big old Class A motorhome?
Oh yeah, we're getting the best one. These things are awesome.
My
They've
mom
got
just
3
got
slide
one.
outs. Yeah.
The double slides.
Oh, man,
and
they're
yeah.
awesome.
Have you saved up for all of that?
We've been
down
trying,
payment?
yeah, for the last couple of years. Now the kids are out of the house. We put away close to 80 grand for it.
80 grand.
Yeah.
And what amount do you need to make that purchase of the RV?
Well, I mean, she wants me to get this one that's a little small. I really want the one that's like 120.
Okay.
It's like 42. It's awesome.
Is
And
it?
It's
yeah.
a big guy.
So you're looking at about you need $45,000.
Wait, yeah, I guess when you say it like that, like more?
Yeah, just to purchase the RV.
Yeah, that's what we need to save to hit our goal. Yeah.
Perfect.
And that's why we're selling the house.
So now I have a down payment that he needs, and now I have a purchase price, right? So, Corey, if I can get you into that RV and then come up to your number of 270, is there any way you could work with me on the terms of purchasing the property?
Well, you mean I get the RV and you could hit my number? I thought you said you were like 160, 170.
So I could come up to that 270 number. I could get you the RV with that money you need down. I would just ask to pay the remainder over a period of time.
Well, what does that mean?
I would make monthly installments, monthly payments that would go towards the principal balance of the overall purchase price.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, is that legal?
Absolutely. We do 6 to 8 properties on creative deals a month like this. I
Huh.
sent out 3 last week alone.
So people do this.
All the time. Yeah, absolutely. Corey, I'm making you the bank here. I'm going to put more money over time in your pocket.
So so I can get the number I want, and I can get out, and I don't wait. What happens to like everything else in between? Like there's the amount and there's the amount you're giving me, but what's the difference?
So the difference I would pay out over a period of time. So the 270 minus the 45, I'd pay that out over a period of time.
Let's pause there.
Okay, perfect. So again, I was able to come up with a down payment and a overall price. The next part about doing this is the monthly payment, right? And that's the same exact negotiating tactic that we do with a low price anchor. We never bring up interest rate. Never bring up interest rate. Always
is that?
assume.
Why would we never bring up interest rate? Aha! They
So
might not bring it
They
up.
may not bring it. So I'll explain an example here in a little bit exactly what happened. We always assume it's going to be a 0% interest rate. If they bring up and they want interest, just use it as a negotiating tactic. Remember the 3 pillars. We're investors. We need to have a give somewhere. Our model is that we really like cash flow. We really stress importance on cash flow, and that's where we want our take. However you decide to do it, however you set up your model, it's just a seesaw, right? There's 3 pillars, and it has to be a win-win for all parties. If you want more equity, if you want less down, or you want cash flow, you just manipulate the numbers into however it works in your model. I think you're going.
Sweet. So hopefully I gave you guys a little bit of an example of what it could look like to have the conversation with the seller. And this is actually how we go through the process. I did this afternoon with the seller out in Star. So just to kind of summarize, first, low price anchor, it creates the gap between where their expectations are and where your cash price is. That makes terms seem attractive, because why otherwise would somebody want a terms option to get paid out over time? It's more complicated, it's more hassle. But if you can create that barrier, that gap in their mind, all of a sudden now you have something to work with that is exciting for them because they feel like they're winning. And so then the other 3 reasons why they wouldn't sell on terms: they need the funds to buy a new property, to pay off other debts, or they just don't understand it. And so now that we've talked about kind of how you structure this, we're going to talk about what do we see working in our market right now. The first thing is a hybrid model. There are so many loans, 70 to 80%, that are under 4% interest. If you can go in and get that and then structure a second position to get them a higher number, we're seeing that being really successful with sellers who are price motivated because they want that number, they want to win. And the second one is multifamily seller finance. So this could be a 2-unit, 4-unit, 8-unit. We're seeing a lot of success with those older retiring landlords that just don't want to manage the properties anymore. And finally, specific to the Boise region, Ada County. Because we do a lot of wholesale, that is where the most buyers are, that's where the most activity is, and that's where people want their properties to be because they see the future appreciation.
So what's not working? What we found that we're really struggling with is houses that are underwater on seller finance or subject to. We haven't been able to sell. I think we've had 3 of them, and we're shooting 1 for 3. We're working on a short sale route, but just be cautious of houses that are underwater. And then also, I personally am really struggling to find owner occupants for houses. If you saw the Emmett property I just blasted out last week, one of our processes is I put it out on Facebook Messenger Marketplace. I had over 200 people reach out to me about that property. Guess how many of those 200 showed up to the walkthrough? 0. So that's one thing that's not working for us. Those are the 2 things that I've found specifically that are not working for us.
And then just to wrap it up, this is a networking event. We're not going to blab all night, but if you guys want to have questions and Q&As with anybody you saw here that's doing creative financing, let's talk about due on sale clause. What happens if a payment's missed? What will I pay in capital gains tax? I got to check with my CPA. All these objections you might get during the conversation. Let's have an offline conversation about how you can overcome some of those. And just to finish up, We're going to go through 2 other deals that we structured in the last 6 months, just to, again, give you guys an example of what's possible.
So this property was Turnberry Meridian, if you saw that one come out. I personally structured this deal. This gentleman was essentially a tired landlord. He had we'll call it a $300,000 mortgage on it. He needed $360,000, and he needed the $60,000 to pay off 2 lenders. He had a rough time in the flipping industry, got underwater, and worked really hard to pay off all his lenders, and he had 2 separate notes for $60,000. I love working with flippers and also investors because they're a little bit more sensible, right? And you can have a give and take a little bit easier. So he wanted a reasonable amount, which gave us about $65,000 in equity, and the house needed about $35,000 worth of rehab. I asked him that question. I said, hey, Mr. Seller, how much do you think this property needs? And he said, oh, maybe about $30,000. I'm like, okay, perfect. Is there any way you can help me out so I can save some cash to use that rehab, give you half that amount to pay one of your lenders, and then carry $30,000? And he was sort of on the fence, so I don't know. I gave him a little incentive. I like to give sellers a little incentive, so I raised the sales price by $10,000, and that pushed him over the edge, and that allowed us to lock up the contract. Most importantly, he had a 3.99% interest rate on this. He gave us a 0.00% interest on his seller finance note at $36,000, $50 a month. So it still allowed us to come in, do the rehab, and then cash flow. That thing's going to cash flow about $400, $450 a month.
And then our final example, talking about multifamily. There was a triplex, actually 2 triplexes next to each other, 2 separate parcels, shared utilities out in Caldwell. They tried to list it 3 separate times. Because of the shared utilities, couldn't sell it. They always wanted highest and best. We're able to structure a deal with one person, come in and give him what he wanted on his purchase price, get less than a 20% down payment, 4% interest, 30-year note, went to his friend. Guess what package we were able to put together? The exact same one, slightly higher purchase price because it was renovated, higher rents. Both of those were able to package up and sell as just over market value, 20% down, and we had buyers knocking down our door to get that one. Why? Because it cash flowed from day one and it was on seller finance and they didn't have to go get a note for it. So these things are out there and they're available to you. We just got to go find them. So that concludes our presentation. Do you guys have any questions before we continue the mingling?